We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Panchadasi, chapter 3, Panchakosha Viveka Prakaranam. We have studied for a few sessions. Most probably we'll try and complete the chapter today and take up some revision next week. Spiritual study is like waking up from a dream. This is how the Vedantic acharyas, teachers, they tell us, you want to know your true self? You consider that whatever you are experiencing now is just an appearance, and you all have the experience of dream state when you sleep. What Vedanta teaches us is that we are asleep to our real nature, and we are experiencing this reality which is called as waking state. When we are living in ignorance of our waking state, we experience the dream state. Similarly, when we are in ignorance about our state, which is called as Brahman or pure consciousness, then we take our waking state as real. So that's why they say that you have to wake up from this waking state to a higher state, which is called as the state of Brahman. Brahman means it's just a name given to a particular level of consciousness. We are used to this waking state where my mind is working, my sense organs are working, and I see the world. In the dream state, my senses are not working, but my mind is working. That is another level of consciousness. Another third level of consciousness is neither the mind is working, neither the sense organs are working, but I exist. In total ignorance about my real nature. That is called a sleep state. Vedanta says you rise up from that sleep state of ignorance, drop your ignorance. So what is your ignorance? The sleep state, which manifests as waking and dream. But the real ignorance is called as Mula Avidya, which is the sleep state, which is called as Maya. You have to wake up from that Maya principle in the sleep state, complete ignorance about who you are and about the whole universe. Mula Avidya, that is called as Mula Avidya. You have to rise from that sleep state. You have been sleeping forever. According to Veda, we have taken several births in this world. Several births, each one of us have come here and gone, come here and gone, come here and gone. And we only come here to enjoy some pleasure, or we experience some pain because of some karma phala. That's it. And then we have taken repeated births. What Veda says is, you come out of this cycle of Maya. The gross body, the subtle body, the, the causal body, all the three bodies together with the three avasthas, waking, dream, and sleep, together with the five koshas, all of that is Maya, which is matter principle, completely inert. What is the real nature? Real nature is consciousness. I am aware. We are all having the experience that I am aware, I am conscious. But unfortunately, this consciousness is drowned in the matter because of our error in identification with the body as me. This is the most important point we should understand in Vedanta. If you understand this, then the Vedanta is simple. I stop identifying the gross body as me. It is an error. It is an adhyasa. It is a superimposition. If I understand the error correctly, then I am on the path of spirituality or the path of knowing who I am. So this is the trick. You must first admit that this is an error. There is an error of cognition. Intellectually, I am feeling that I am this body. Once you have known the error, then it is easy to understand Vedanta and then rise out of this ignorance. This whole chapter is driven for waking up from our primal ignorance, which is called as Mula Avidya. And in many advanced texts, this is the central point of study. If you take Naishkarmya Siddhi, this is the point. A lot of verses are there in Naishkarmya Siddhi talking about Mula Avidya, ignorance. Naishkarmya Siddhi is a text, advanced text of Vedanta written by Sureshwara Acharya, a scholar of Vedanta. If you take Vichara Sagara by Nishala Dasa, a scholar of Vedanta, where he has broken up the entire Vedanta into 550 odd topics, and he says, to the highest Uttama Adhikari, he tells him, come out of your primal ignorance, which is Mula Avidya, Maya. This topic of Maya, we are discussing in this chapter from verse number 37 to 43. About 7 verses. Very difficult topic. Because if you understand Maya, Lord Krishna says, you have crossed the samsara cycle. Chapter 7, verse 14. Mama Maya Duratyaya. So, understanding this Maya is not easy. You need to go through these verses again and again, or learn this again and again in all the advanced texts, and grasp this unreality of the world and wake up to your own higher nature. With this short introduction, I will go into the 41st verse where we stopped last week. And in this verse, in the balance 2 verses, there are 3 more verses. Let us see what this verse is saying.
कोशोपाधि विवक्षायां कोशोपाधि विवक्षायां याति ब्रह्मैव जीवतां पिता पितामहश्चैकः पुत्रपौत्रौ यथा प्रति.
In the earlier verses up to 40, we have seen this pure reality, how it was seen as the whole Jagat. And Ishwara is the creator of Jagat. For Ishwara, Jagat is the upadhi. Okay, so this is one level of discussion which we have finished up to verse number 40. Now in 41st verse onwards, he is focusing on the Jiva. Maya with reference to Jiva, Maya with reference to Ishwara. How do I understand this? And ultimately, what is Brahman? Brahman is a ultimate reality in which there is no Jiva, no Jagat, and no Ishwara. Jiva, Jagat, Ishwara is Maya. And it is a Shakti of Brahman. Very important point. Shakti of Brahman is this Maya principle. And I learned this Shakti of that reality. The reality can exist without the Shakti, like the waker can exist without the dream. Similarly, Atma or Brahman can exist without the Shakti of this waking state creation or dream state or sleep state. All the three states are ultimately one Maya principle. So with the upadhi of 5 koshas, this pure reality, Brahman, is called as Jiva. This verse is saying that the same Brahman is appearing as the Jiva and it is appearing as the Ishwara. When it appears as the Jiva, it is with the 5 koshas. And Vidyaranya gives an example. How do you try to understand this? For example, there is a man living in a house. When the son is in front of him, he becomes the father. So he takes the role of a father when he's discussing with the son what he should study, what he should become, and so on, so on. So the identification is what? I am the father, he is the son, and the transaction goes on between father and son. Son goes away, then the grandfather comes, or the person's father comes. Then what happens? Then he deals with his father in a different way. If the son is there, if the man is a son, he will deal with his grandfather in a different way. So what has changed in the man? Nothing has changed. Only the upadhi has changed. What was the upadhi? The son was a upadhi. Grandfather is a upadhi. Wife is a upadhi. The boss is a upadhi. I'm sure by now you understand upadhi. Upadhi is a very, very technical term, very important in Vedanta. Okay, so whenever these upadhis are there, mediums are there, the man's designation changes. So similarly is this Brahman, this pure reality. See, don't get carried away by Brahman, the word Brahman. Brahman means it is my own nature. Without the upadhi of this gross body, whatever I am is called as Brahman. Similarly, without this world, there is a reality that is called as Brahman. So this reality has got 2 upadhis. One is the Vyashti, Jiva. Another is this Samashti, Ishwara. When the same Brahman is looked at from the total creation, then what happens to that Brahman? He will say, I am the creator of this Jagat. I am Sarva Shaktiman, Sarva Antaryami, Sarva Antaryamitvam belongs to me. There is a Shakti called as upadhi with me, and that is my glory. That is how Lord Krishna describes in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Vibhuti Yoga, the whole cosmos is my Vibhuti. Why? It is Lord Krishna talking with reference to his knowledge as I am Brahman. And what is Vyashti? Vyashti means the individuality. Jiva Krit. Individuality is always acquired only when I identify with the upadhi. Either I identify with the gross body, I become the waker. The entire wakerhood is a status. It is not the real nature. This nature of wakerhood comes only during when my mind is awake. Dreamerhood comes only my mind is semi-active. Sleeperhood comes only when the mind is asleep. See, they are not the real status. My real status is something beyond the three states, which is what is called as Brahman. The silkworm builds its own silk around it and dies in sorrow. Similarly, Jiva has created a samsara out of his own mind projections and then gets into the cycle of transmigration. This is how Veda tells us how we are living in this world. The definition of individuality in a Jiva is not the truth. The reality is the truth, and the reality is Jiva is Paramatma and Paramatma is Brahman. Why do we say this equation? Because Jivatma's real nature is consciousness. Ishwara's real nature is consciousness, existence. With reference to existence and consciousness, the Jiva is eternal. These are all the higher text. Panchadasi is a higher text. It comes out with all the points you need to know that you are pure reality. The two names are contextual. It comes when the upadhi is in front. They are incidental, they are not factual. So with reference to two viewpoints, the same pure consciousness, which we all experience in our deep sleep state, I am there as a conscious person, I still exist. That is what we are referring to. As per that reference point, this experience of Jiva and Ishwara is incidental. And we all know that we exist without this gross body, subtle body, and causal body. It is our anubhava. The only thing is, I have lost track of myself and my real nature, and I'm taking this body, which I perceive in the waking state as the reality. I am the consciousness experiencer, not the experienced body. The center of the circle is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, which we have studied in this chapter. That is the reality. If you go in the slightly outside that reality, it is my body, my individuality. You go slightly further away, you end up in the cosmos, which is samashti. But everything is related to the center. and the center is Chaitanya. Avivikshamaya, that is the word which is used. Don't take into consideration Jiva or Ishwara as the reality. So what is the reality then? That pure consciousness, which is the center of the whole creation, is the reality. You transcend the upadhi. Don't destroy. We don't need to destroy the body or the universe, because they are anyway negated in the sleep state. Develop the art of looking at it as an art of looking at the fact that is the center. Don't be carried away by the superficial experiences which we all have. So what should I do to become immortal? Nothing. You just have to know that I am the center of the whole creation. How do I know this? I remove all the 5 koshas which I have learned in this chapter. If you don't know how to remove it, go and revise the 40 verses which we have done. You will come to know. This chapter is a technique to arrive at your own nature without the upadhi of the body. Very beautiful chapter. It's a very well written chapter by Vidyaranya Swami, and if you know how to open up each of his verses, then it becomes very interesting, and you cannot miss the fact that you are that consciousness. 2 more verses. Let's see what it means. The 42nd verse.
Putradeera vivakshayam, na pitana pitamaha, na pitana pitamaha, tadvadnesho napi jivaha, tadvadnesho napi jivaha, shakti kosha vivakshane, shakti kosha vivakshane.
It is the same idea which was expressed in verse number 41. It's continuing. It is the same idea. What is the idea? Brahman is expressing as Jiva and Ishwara. In this verse, what he is saying is an example when a person is not a father, not a grandfather, not a son, a wife is not the sister, she is not the daughter, or not the grandmother. Who is she? That is what is expressed in this verse. And it says that Jiva is the same as Brahman, is the same reality. It is only the covering which is covering this reality. And the covering is the 5 koshas. The covering is the 3 states. The covering is the 3 bodies. Veda tells us how to remove this covering, how to discover our real nature. The upadhi does not hold attention for a jnani. The upadhi is what? The 5 koshas or the Maya Shakti. Right now, what is happening to all of us? We are under the grip of Maya Shakti. All of us. All of us in the waking state are in the grip of Maya Shakti. There is a Shakti in this universe. And beyond the Shakti lies the reality. How do I come out of this Maya Shakti is what is explained in these verses. Very difficult thing, but it can be done. Jnanis have done it. The rishis in India have done it. Many people who have studied Panchadasi have benefited from these chapters. They have realized the spiritual nature. We too can do it. Look beyond the three: son, brother, father, grandfather. All these are all names given to the gross body when it is experienced. But that is why here it says upasamkramati. This is a technical word used in Taittiriya Upanishad. Vidyaranya Swami uses the same technical term, upasamkramati. People who have done Taittiriya Upanishad will remember this. There is a verse in the Taittiriya Upanishad, and there it says upasamkramati means you go beyond the five koshas, you cross over the five koshas, transcend the five koshas. Intellectually, physically you cannot transcend, because anyway we transcend the five koshas in our sleep state. Anandamaya kosha is transcended. I am asleep. I am in a pure state of Brahman. Napi Jiva na Ishwara. Second line. Napi Jiva na Ishwara. Reality is not the Jiva or Ishwara. It is only Jiva and Ishwara is only a name in our tongue. That is what Chandogya Upanishad says. All the upadhis are only name and form. Name and form exist only in the tongue, in the language which we use. It is not the reality. The reality is pure consciousness. Upadhi word is very, very important in the entire Vedanta. Very important. And this is what is described beautifully in Adhyasa Bhashyam. If you have not done it, please study the Adhyasa Bhashyam. There are videos available of that. And that is why Shankaracharya, before taking up Brahma Sutra, he wrote this Adhyasa Bhashyam. So that once the Adhyasa is clear, you can open up any verse of the Upanishad and discover the truth. That is what he did. Brahma Sutra consists of 555 verses. And these are all related to some verse in the Upanishads. Wherever there is some mixing up, confusion is there, it is found in Brahma Sutra. And there Shankaracharya will take step by step, he will analyze, logically he will give the reasoning to make us understand that it is an upadhi. That is about the 42nd verse, which is just a continuation of the 41st verse. 43rd verse.
Ya evam brahma vedaisha, ya evam brahma vedaisha, brahmaiva bhavati swayam, brahmaiva bhavati swayam, brahmano nasti janmatah, brahmano nasti janmatah, punaresha na jayate, punaresha na jayate.
In this verse, Swami Vidyaranya takes a verse from Mundaka Upanishad, which I will show you later in the next few slides. Whoever knows Brahman becomes Brahman. Brahman has no birth. Therefore, if you are Brahman, you have no birth. What a beautiful statement. Very difficult to accept. Very difficult. You have no birth. That's what here Vidyaranya is saying. Each one of us. Right from birth till today, we have been told that you are born, you are born on so date, you give a birth date everywhere, wherever you go, in school you give, in college you give, in passport you give, in IC you give, in everywhere you give a birth. And then that is what the world demands us to believe. but it is not a fact according to Veda. One who knows his self as Brahman and not Jiva or Ishwara is a free person. Because after doing this chapter, you have learned how to negate the 5 koshas and also the Shakti of Brahman. You negate that because that is what is this entire waking state, dream state, sleep state. It is a Shakti. Taking Jivatvam, Ishwaratvam, the status as real is called as ignorance. This is what Lord Krishna taught Arjuna in the 2nd chapter itself, where he said, know that your nature is not born, neither it will die. All the people you are going to fight in the battlefield, they are never born, they will never die. He taught this to Arjuna in the 2nd chapter. Najayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavitana bhuyaha ajo nityam shashvato yam puranaha. Very, very beautiful mantra he taught to Arjuna. Then he also taught to him about existence and non-existence. And which is that verse which talks about this Najayate Brite Va is 20th verse of the 2nd chapter. Existence and non-existence and Maya Shakti he taught in the 16th verse, 2nd chapter, 16th verse. I'm going a little bit out of topic, but connected with this topic. Nasato vidyate bhavaha na bhava vidyate sataha ubhayoropi drishtontyas yosta tattva darshinaha. People who have tattva darshinaha, people who are seers of the truth, what do they say about existence? They say unreal has no being. Nasato, this is one of the trickiest verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Many people don't understand this at all, even after learning Gita for about 25 years, because unless you are a realized person and know that you are pure consciousness, you will not understand this verse. What is real and what is unreal? This is exactly what we are learning in this Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti is unreal. Brahman is real. Brahman is the substratum, Maya Shakti is the superimposed. So the superimposed is unreal. And it has no being, no existence of its own. Maya Shakti cannot exist on its own. This is one point, the first part of that mantra, Nasato Vidyate Bhava. Then the second part of the mantra is Na bhavo vidyate sataha. There is no non-being of the real. Non-being of the real means what? The reality is the substratum. It can never be negated because I am that substratum. Brahman is the substratum. Atma is the substratum. You cannot negate and say, I don't exist. It's not possible. That is what is being taught by Lord Krishna. Real and unreal, Viveka Shakti is what we need to develop. In Tattva Bodha, we talk about Viveka Shakti, difference between real and unreal. At that time, we don't know the difference, but now we can know Maya and Brahman, Jiva, Jagat, Ishwara, which is Maya, and the reality Brahman. So the one who knows the truth of Maya and the truth of Brahman, Maya being unreal, doesn't have an independent existence. The reality Brahman has got independent existence. That person who knows this truth behind real and unreal, he is the knower of Brahman. See, in this verse, so many meanings are there. You need to understand the five, drop the five koshas and the Shakti as anatma and realize Brahman. Taking Jivatvam and Ishwaratam as real is called as ignorance. Suppose I say I am existing in this form and I take that this is the reality, which is what we all do. We take the waking state because every day we see the waking state. That is what the eyes are showing me. Perception is not the proof of reality. Knowledge is the proof of reality, and knowledge comes from Veda. They are both incidental. Ishwaratvam is also incidental. Jivatvam is also incidental. They come and go. In the waking state, it is there. In the sleep state, it is not there. So therefore, Veda says, rise up from your sleep state and discover the reality, which is Brahman, which is the substratum. Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. When you rise up from the sleep state and you are all alone, into the all alone, what is that state? How do you describe that state? Not as waker, not as sleeper, not as dreamer, but you describe it as Satyam. Satyam means it cannot be negated. Always there, always there, always there. In that Satyam, time is a upadhi. Time comes and goes. Time comes and goes, and that is a upadhi. Space comes and goes, space is a upadhi. So abidance in that pure reality should be the goal of our life. And true realization does not happen because we have strong notions of jivatvam in our mind. See, this I am born is a thought in the mind. Whenever I look at my body, or for some reason I realize that body is giving me problems, then I talk about birth, I talk about the death of the body and so on. But it is just a notion. I have to cross that notion and realize the truth. The process of realization, as mentioned in Vedantic Upanishad, 3 steps are mentioned: shravanam, mananam, nididhyasanam. How much time should I spend in each of them? Generally speaking, for an average student, they say 1/3 of your spiritual study should be on shravanam, 1/3 should be on mananam, 1/3 should be on nididhyasanam. And what are the 3 processes involved? In shravanam, you get clarity on the knowledge of the self, on the knowledge of Atma, and Atma being Brahman. That is what is called as shravanam. First, you come to know that there is something called as this pure reality. In mananam, what do? You clear your doubts. Because of our ignorance, we have doubts. How can this be true? How can I say that I am not the body? That is the doubt which has to be removed. And unless you remove this doubt, you cannot have moksha. And removing this doubt gives me the intellectual mastery to hold on to that truth. Nididhyasanam is a last step where I sit down deliberately in meditation and I negate the personality. Body is not me, mind is not me, the individual personality is not me. That is what we do in our Nirvana Shatkam meditations. It's a process of nididhyasanam. I learn, and all of you are masters of it because you have all attended these sessions. You have gone through the meditations so many times. That is how we become Brahmavid. So once you have the knowledge, you remove the doubts that I am that pure consciousness and abide in it, that is called as moksha. Okay? So this is one part of this 41, 42, 43, which I just prepared. The second part of it is I'm going to revise these verses again with some more additional points. Some points I will not repeat because you already are familiar in this session. That reality with the 5 koshas is defined as Jiva. Reality with the world as the upadhi is called as Maya or Ishwara. Upadhi is extrinsic. Extrinsic means it is not the truth. It is not a fact. It is not a unnegatable. It is not an unnegatable fact, but it is a negatable fact. Upadhi. Like the hibiscus flower and a crystal. You can remove the hibiscus flower and see the crystal as pure. Similarly, I can remove the 5 koshas. I can remove the 3 bodies. I can remove the 3 avasthas and know I am the truth. Truth is the intrinsic principle. Consciousness is the intrinsic principle. Satchidananda is an intrinsic principle. Jivatvam, Ishwaratvam is a upadhi. And what is upadhi? We have seen with reference to a person being a father, son, wife, husband, and so on. Without the upadhi, I am the Satchidananda Atma. And this Maya, when it is active, it is called as harikam. Now, there are 2 types of realities you should learn. What are the 2 types of realities? There is a third one also that we'll see later on. Vyavaharika satta means it is dependent on consciousness. The entire waking state is Vyavaharika Satyam, where transactions can take place. But no transaction can take place without consciousness. That is why it is called as Vyavaharika Satta. Transactional reality. What is Paramarthika Satta? Paramarthika Satta means it is an independent reality, higher reality, which can alone be there, which is called as Satchidananda Swarupam, of mind only. With the body and the mind and the sense organs and the world, I am called as Jiva. Without the body, without the sense organs, without the world, who am I? I am called as Satchit Ananda Brahman. Same, one reality. So that truth is called as Paramarthika. So Jiva Ishwara is also another term which is used for Vyavaharika. It's also called Mithya. Mithya means it is experienceable but not real. Reality is consciousness, which is Satya. Reference to Ishwaratvam and Jivatvam statuses, we give the name Jiva Ishwara. But by now I'm quite sure you all realize it. Then there is another section which I wanted to touch upon, that is called as Mahavakya analysis. This is an important section for us to realize I am that pure consciousness. In Chandogya Upanishad, the Jiva is equated to Ishwara by the sentence Tat Tvam Asi. How can the Jiva and Ishwara be one? The Viruddha upadhis, that means the contrary upadhi, the contrary features of Jiva being a limited individual and Ishwara being limitless. I drop it, I remove it. That removal process is called as Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. Very important sentence here. Intellectually, how do I realize I am Brahman, I am reality? It is this process. Each one of us must do it for himself. And this happens while listening itself, you may be able to realize this. So one portion is falsified, rejected. Which portion? The Pancha koshas. What as false? It is perceptible through the five sense organs, but not real. When it is not real, it is called as vyavaharika satta. Vedanta doesn't say that Maya Panchakoshas are not there. They are there, but of a lower order of reality. Vedanta never says the dream is not there. Veda says dream is of a lower order of reality, which is pratibhasika satya, still lower than the vyavaharika. And all these realities, they exist as bhava rupa. Bhava rupa means it is known as existent, existent, existent. You can negate the bhava, but you cannot negate the existence. Maya can be negated, but the pure existence on which this whole world is standing, it cannot be negated. And how do I realize that? I am that reality when I drop the sleep state. In the knowledge of that pure Brahman, Maya and the five koshas are falsified. So, ontology is a study of the status of reality, status of consciousness. That is a field of study, ontology. Paramarthika Satyam, that means the definition of Satyam. What type? There are three types of Satyam in Vedanta. Paramarthika Satyam is that pure Brahman. Vyavaharika Satyam is the maker with transactions. Pratibhasika Satyam is the dreamer, which is only a projection of the mind. So I disregard the Maya principle and understand I am the pure Satchidananda Swarupa Brahman. The 43rd verse is a very important verse. What does it say? One who knows himself as Brahman has no birth, because Brahman is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. These are three terms used in Brahmananda Vali, the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, the second chapter, first section, first mantra. This is discussed. I have taken this mantra 2-3 times during these 43 verses. Mundaka Upanishad also gives the same idea of knowing the Brahman, I become immortal. One should know the subtle truth in the Atma within the body. And knowing this truth is there in me. Each one of us should say, I am the truth. I am the truth. I am not this body. I am not the mind. These are the five koshas. And then I can know how I can remain as immortal throughout my life. Once this knowledge is, once your mind is exposed to that pure being, you will never forget it. Never. It's like waking up from a dream. Oh, this whole thing is waking is a dream. Exactly like the other dream. Kathopanishad also says, na jayate mriyate va kadachat. This I have also discussed in the last session. Chandogya Upanishad gives the, see all this, why I have brought these verses here is, all these verses are saying that know that Brahman, know that pure state and realize your nature. This is the Taittiriya Upanishad I was talking about, the second chapter, first section, first mantra. This is the verse. Here comes Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The whole chapter 3 is based on this verse. Whole chapter 3. Because this is the seed verse for 43 verses. Ya evam Brahma Veda. Brahman is not the Jiva, is not the Ishwara, but Brahman is a reality. I have to say that if God is there, I am there. If I am there, God is there. Because I here belongs to the body. And the body, there is a controller of this body. But for reality, I don't need God or I don't need the body. I am pure consciousness. Brahma eva bhavati swayam. I am that pure existence. This is not created. Existence, consciousness is not created. It is the nature. The Lord is required to control over a jiva, the body, mind, universe. You need an inner controller. That is what we called it as the Maya principle, Antaryami principle. So if you have two drishtis are possible, one is Sat Drishti, another is Asat Drishti. Sat Drishti is what? Sat Drishti is the pure consciousness. I am that pure Sat. Asat Drishti is what? Maya Drishti with the Ubadi. So we have to develop that new vision of myself without this body as an Ubadi. Once I know that I exist, Mundaka Upanishad says, in his family, there will be nobody who will be born again, because he will teach his son or daughter that you are also not born. I have come to know this truth from the Veda. I have broken the knots of the ignorance which I have been having for so many births. And Vedantic Upanishad also says, the one who knows I am indeed the creation, and in me only this whole creation has come. Me here stands for consciousness. It is not the body. Unless I think I am the body, I am not the body. In spirituality, we come to know that I can be free from this body and I can exist. How? When I analyze my sleep state. In the sleep state, I am not a man, I am not a woman, I am the pure consciousness. The consciousness is free of gender. When I study the 43 verses, what is the result of that? In my subconscious mind, a seed of free Brahman is there, is born. That in the subconscious mind, all of us get the glimpse of that Brahman. I can't see that Brahman physically with my eyes, but inwardly, I am able to cognitively understand the truth. And what is the truth? I am not the upadhi, the body, mind. I am that pure consciousness which is revealed by the upadhi. Like the moonlight reveals the sunlight. This body, the thoughts in the mind, they reveal the truth, which is the Sakshi, which is pure consciousness. That Sakshi is where? Everywhere, all pervading principle. And that Sakshi is called as Brahman. But I experience certain things in this life, some sorrow, that is all karma phala of the previous results of the previous body's birth and so on. That is a law of nature, law of karma, which governs this whole waking state. As Brahman, I don't have birth. I'm free from all the upadhis. That is what is called as pure awareness, which is what we try to see in our meditation and become that awareness. I drop all the upadhis and be the pure consciousness. What takes a new body? That which takes the body, which is called as reflected consciousness, is not the body. The pure consciousness, with the help of reflected consciousness and the body as the upadhi, that is the jiva. Okay. So how do I know this pure awareness consciousness? By dropping the 5 koshas. Annamaya kosha is the physical body, which is not me. Manomaya kosha is not me, which is the krodhi, the raghi, the angry person, the desireful person. All this is dropped. Identification is required to gain power and act. That means in the world, we have to act. Individuality is required while living in the world. But when these objects, emotions, and thoughts go away, who am I? Pure awareness. Before jnanam, I need to be attentive and say that I am not the person, not the individuality with the desires. But after jnanam, what do I say? Desire doesn't belong to me. Desire starts falling by itself. No need to do anything. Only learn I am Atma, I am Brahman. That desire, the lower qualities, everything will disappear the moment I learn more and more about this Satyam Jnanam Anantam. Vidyate hridaya grantihi shiyante sarva samshayaha chidyante. This is a very famous sloka from the Mundaka Upanishad. It talks about the knots of the heart being removed. That is basically that ignorance goes away. Once the ignorance goes away, what is the ultimate realization? When some Mula Avidya, which I discussed today, once that goes away, what is realization? I am that pure Brahman. And I can say with full confidence, Najayate mriyate va kadachit. I have no birth as consciousness. Okay? So with that, I close this 43 verses discussion today. Next week, I'm going to do one more revision of this whole 43 verses. And I will take up verse by verse, and I give you the meanings quickly. Okay, these are the meanings which we'll quickly go through it. It won't take us. So that you get a bird's eye view of the whole chapter one more time. I do this mainly because I revise this many times. A lot of people complain also that you take so much of revisions. You know, why? But the topic is so subtle. You're talking about Maya, how to get over this Maya Shakti, you know. Your mind is tuned to taking the reality as this waking. That is the reason I take these revisions, so that At any time you want to revise this chapter, you have this summary before you, immediately all the memories will come to you of this 37 to 43, Maya Shakti. So much of drilling was done. The teaching was repeated again and again. That Maya is the three avasthas. Maya is the panchakoshas. Okay, so next week we'll finish the summary. The following week we will start chapter 4. Okay. Next Wednesday we will finish this. For those of you who have any questions on the summary part of it, you can send me send a WhatsApp to Vedanta students, the WhatsApp group which is there, or you can just send an email. You know how to reach me. If you have questions on this chapter, please send your questions. I will try to answer next week. But the question should be only related to 43 verses, not anything else. This chapter, what are the questions you have? You can revise this in your own time. You can go through the summary. The notes are already with you. If you don't understand any verse, you can ask me. This was a beautiful chapter. And it is a revision of Taittiriya Upanishad, the Panchakoshas, very important chapter of the Panchadasi itself. And therefore, revise this chapter again and again. We have done chapter 8 before, we have done chapter 3 now. We are going to do chapter 4 next. That's also a brilliant chapter. It's a continuation of the 3rd chapter. That is why I thought it's better to take it, because it deals with Shrishti, creation, and understanding the creation a little bit more in detail, what I am creating as a Jiva and what the Lord is creating as Ishwara. That is this chapter number 4. We will do that after next week. Okay. I'm having one session on Saturday for newcomers who are doing self-study only. Now they have some questions. I'm going to answer those questions on this Saturday at 9 o'clock Indian time. 9 to 10 is a session purely meant for people who are doing self-study. But there are about 10 questions which I'll be answering that time. In case you are interested, you can just join. There's no problem. You can. It's the same link at 9 o'clock Indian time. You can just join it. If you are interested in Q&A session, anyway, if you it's the first time I'm trying. A lot of people, they write to Vedanta students and say, I'm interested. How do I start? Then I write to them and say that, why don't you do Tattva Bodha? I send them the talks. And then there are some people who follow up on this and then they start. And then this session is purely meant for them. But if you are interested, you can also join. You can drop me a mail. I can send you the invitation for that also. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. I'll go through the chat boxes. Okay, Jacqueline is asking about the Saturday session. It's 11:30 a.m. in Singapore. It's 9 a.m. in India. So the session is going to be on 11:30 on this coming Saturday. Okay. The Q&A session, and you can also ask questions. Yeah, if you want to ask questions, just drop your questions. I will answer the questions, but primarily it's meant for people who are just starting and doing the self-study. They are not able to attend the classes, so they have questions. This is the first time I'm having a Q&A session, and you can also come. You will also get the questions which they have asked. You will get the question on the invitation. Okay. Any other question related to today?
Sekaji,
हाँ बोलो बाबा.
in your in your early talk, you were saying that how to get out of the Maya.
Correct. How to get out of this Maya? This is the most important thing which we have to learn in life. And the only way to come out of this Maya is to say to yourself, I am the Sakshi, I am not the body. Again and again, tell yourself, I am Atma, I am not the body. That's all. And you'll start seeing the effect of Maya coming down in your life. Your sorrows in life will come down. Just a simple practice. I am the Sakshi, I am the witness, I am not at all affected by whatever happens in the body. Now, who is giving this promise? The promise is coming from the Veda. The Veda is teaching me, please tell this yourself and realize your nature. Bhagavad Gita tells me this. The Upanishads tells me, come out of this Maya. Actually, Maya means my own mind. See, what happens is, when I don't know myself, the mind starts projecting. I have to do this. I have to enjoy this. All this is all Maya. So, an ignorant person who does not know anything about Atma, he will be thinking that I am the body, I am the mind. And he will always live in Maya throughout life. But person who has gone through the study of Veda, like you have come to know that how to get rid of this Maya. So the best way, simple way, okay, is to keep, number one, saying to yourself, I am the Sakshi. Whenever you're feeling very sorrowful, suppose something bothers you, some incident has happened in your life, and then immediately reflect, try to remember this one mantra which the Upanishad teaches me. You are not the body, you are only the Sakshi of the body. When I say body, it means the mind also. Okay? So so am I clear? Bye-bye.
So Sakshi is the same word as observer, right?
Yes, observer. Correct. You're right.
Okay.
I am the observer. I am not the observed body. I am not the observed thoughts. I am not the observed emotions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Akshay, the timing is 9 a.m. in India, yeah, not 9 p.m. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, when we talk about Maya, Shakti and Ishwar,
yes,
so the deities that are there, be it Shiva, be it Krishna, be it Devi,
yes,
Maya.
Yeah, they're all Maya.
So I am essentially worshipping to a form,
yes,
indicator of the Brahman.
Exactly. You're all worshipping. For example, you see a Devi in the temple. You see Shiva. All these, basically, it is a power. It is a power of that Brahman, which is appearing in the form of Shiva. It is appearing in the form of Devi to me.
So it's an adhyasa.
It is an adhyasa. It is an adhyasa and it is a superimposition. And we deliberately do it so that I can come out of this Maya.
Okay.
Initially, while I'm doing the prayer, while I'm doing this Shiva Manasa Puja, you know, you do Archana for the Shiva with some Shiva Manasa Stotram. What is happening is I am removing all other anatma thoughts from my mind and slowly learning how to focus my mind in one area. So that this is only a practice, okay? This is not the truth. But it is a climbing, it's a ladder in this spiritual study. This exercise of praying to that Shakti will help me to cross this Maya.
So I pray to the power so that I can cross the Maya.
Yes, that's correct.
At this point of time, I need it.
This is, yes, you're right.
At this point of time, because all my chants also are dedicated to the Ishwar and to different Ishwars, no?
Yeah, you should continue the chant and absolutely just continue the chants. Only know that I am learning the art of focusing the mind. You see, slowly when I'm chanting, what happens is my mind becomes sattvic. All the rajas, that passion in my mind reduces.
Yes.
This is the secret of all chantings. You see, we are all trying to reduce the passion in our mind of rajas and tamas. We are trying to reduce that and then slowly making it go towards a higher reality.
Right.
That's all. You see, whether it is prayer, whether it is yatra, you go on a tirtha yatra to Gangotri, Yamunotri, or you go on a to any of the temples all over India. There are thousands of temples. All this is only to purify the mind. And why is purification of the mind required? Because this knowledge of Atma is very, very subtle. Very subtle, you see, and knowing this Atma gives me the greatest joy in the world. Greatest. Nothing in the world will give me the joy of Atma. It's absolute, and this is what the scriptures say, this is what the jnanis say, this is what the realized people say. Know that reality in yourself and you will experience something which is out of this world.
So Ishwara is a reminder of the purity to me.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Good question. Very good. Akshay has got a question here. A person has studied most of the scriptures, knows the truth about Atman, still sometime he fails to come out of Maya. Further, if he loses faith, how can he get back to the original truth? Okay. This question is asked also in some other texts. If you have known the truth, okay, once, you will never fall. This is what the scripture says. And if you have fallen, that means you have not known the truth. This is what the scriptures say. If you are falling, it means it's another Maya. It's, you know, you have thought that you have known the scriptures well, but one fact you should remember. In spite of knowing Brahman, if there are some experiences you come across, suppose in your own heart of hearts you feel, yes, I know this truth. Okay, I'm taking the other example. That I assume that you have learned the scriptures, you have gone and you have assumed. You have know that your reality is that pure consciousness. Okay, and you fall. You fall means what? See, falling is an experience of the unreal world. falling down is an experience of your body-mind complex. The jnani, even if he falls, immediately he will know how to come out of it because he knows that body-mind is interacting with the world and it is a false entity. He will come out of this Maya within seconds. He will work with Maya, enjoy the world. For example, Swamijis, they enjoy the Bhiksha. They go and enjoy a nice movie. They enjoy a cricket match also. Being a jnani, it doesn't mean, like Swami Chitmananda used to go and watch the tennis. He was very fond of tennis. He used to watch the Wimbledon and so on. So it doesn't mean that because you're a jnani, you don't have to enjoy the world. Because while enjoying itself, you realize this is lower nature. Theek hai, this is just happening. I'll ask you a simple question. Last week's experiences which you had, what do you think of it about it today?
Can't remember. It can't remember.
It's gone.
Like a dream.
It is Maya. What can you tell about last week's experiences? Yesterday's experiences? While experiencing it, what did you feel? You felt that this is the only truth and you were working on it. But today, what happened? That truth on which you were working yesterday was a Maya. So that is why, when you say that the waking state is Maya, you must always realize that in the waking state for a waker, it is the truth. It is not Maya. In a dream, for a dreamer, dream is reality. Only a waker who is standing on a higher pedestal, he is saying that the dream is false. Similarly, a jnani, he is standing on a higher pedestal. I am Brahman. I am the pure reality. I have understood the Veda. I have no doubt. Now, this should be said by a person who has understood the truth clearly. He must say this. You cannot remain permanently as a sadhak. You must know one day I have to say, now I am a Siddha Purusha. Veda is only for you to come out of this Maya and claim your real nature as pure consciousness. So, the last part of your question, how can he again come back to original truth, is very easy for a jnani. He can, see, even Narada, he had this problem. He suffered so much. In the Narad Bhakti Sutra, if you go through that, you will see he went into complete Maya and then came out of it. So Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to come out of Maya is Gunatita Atma. Know your real nature as beyond Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. When you're caught up in Maya means you are caught up in either one of the three. Either you're studying too much, want more and more and more and more knowledge, that is a Sattvic Maya. I want to do, action, 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 passion, passion, passion. Rajasic Maya. I don't want to do knowledge. I don't want to do any action. I want to sleep. Tamasic Maya. All three are Maya.
Also there.
All three are Maya, but three different forms of Maya. And you have to realize this. That is what Bhagavad Gita chapter 14 teaches us. Beautiful chapter. If you want to study Maya, please study chapter 14 again and again. The truth will be revealed to you. Gunatita Atma is the truth. Once you have realized the truth, no more going back to Maya. It is very, very clearly said in the scriptures, a jnani will never fall down to Maya. Let your mind get exposed one glimpse of that pure Brahman. One glimpse. Beyond these three states, beyond the sleep state, who am I? Who am I? Let this question come again and again, hit your mind till that consciousness is realized. It is the same consciousness which is asking and experiencing these, which is experiencing everything in life. Same one consciousness. The same consciousness realizes and drops the Maya and realizes, I am the pure truth. Consciousness plus mind is the Maya. Consciousness minus the mind is the truth. Realize this. This is the mind itself will tell you, I am now experiencing that reality which is promised in the Veda. Your own mind will tell you, this is the truth. This is the truth. Yes, 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 I agree with this. Till your mind tells you, don't stop studying. Let the study go on. You have finished chapter 3, now go to chapter 4. After chapter 4, there's going to be another chapter 5. Mahavakya Vichara. How to realize that again and again the Veda teaches you. That is the joy of this study. So everywhere there is a danger of Maya. Wherever there is danger of Maya, remember there is also the Shakti of Atman. Don't focus on the danger, focus on the seer consciousness. I am aware, I am aware. All the time I'm alert. Never come out of the alertness. That itself is being in the truth. That's all. I am aware. Nothing else to do in life. I am aware. I am aware. Morning to evening, I am aware. I am aware. People who study the Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures, the best benefit, the benefit they got out of this study of these scriptures is they are able to live a very, very pleasant life outside this study. Because the mind is very, very quiet. They are able to absorb whatever has to be done in their own field. They can do it brilliantly. Because the mind is quiet. When the mind is quiet, you can absorb anything in the world. This is the best benefit you get out of the study. Your mind is clear. Suppose it is not clear. I will say that it will become clear. It is only a question of degree. Slowly you will find, I'm able to think better. Any circumstances, absolutely, you have family situations, you have monetary situations, you have health situations. You are able to face it. Much better than a person who is not having this knowledge. Much, much better. Okay, I hope this is clear. Rohit, you have any questions?
No, Shikhaji, no questions.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Huh?
Yeah, I just want to share something. Yeah.
Yeah, Vignesh.
I mean, this chapter is really a mind-blowing chapter. There is no doubt about it. And this is a real transformation. This is like a U-turn, turning like a 10th man, the boat 10th man turning. That is what it really takes. And Vidyaranya, this Taittiriya Upanishad, selecting this particular verse, which is a seed verse for the entire chapter, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, is an extraordinary. In fact, sometimes I feel that this verse is a seed to know who is God, the absolute nature of the God, which is like a seed for all the Upanishads.
I agree with you.
Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and all that what we have done in the past actually. Sometimes, I mean, I was just trying to analyze the amount of clarification he has given in Jnanam and Anantam.
Yes, yes.
So that Anantam is the very, very, very key word. This is what I realized. See, we have done a lot of, Taittiriya Upanishad, but subsequently, this I find doing this Panchadasi, this is where the mananam plays an important role actually. Shravanam, we are listening, but mananam is, there is continuous clarification, which is to make this mind to realize what it is. So this is what really the clarifications are given in such a logic and such a beautiful way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
So
Ishwara, 1 hour, what is it?
and the nididhyasanam will eventually will happen. Few specific things what I just would like to share here is, see, when we say Anantam, it is independent of time, space, and object. And every event, every experience is a function of time only.
Yes.
So when we, I mean, sometimes it becomes very difficult to understand how from finite we can go to that infinite state actually. That in the normal way, if we just try to see, we will not be able to see. But when we see this Anantam as an independent of time, space, and event,
Yeah.
then we realize, yes, this traveling can happen from finite to infinite.
Yes.
And in this today's Nirvana Satakam, which we had done, the 6th verse, where it says very clearly, pervading all the indriyas, all the senses. So when you pervade all the senses, when you drop listening, when you drop seeing, when you drop tasting, which can happen only sort of through meditation or mananam or one particular thing, what happens is we are traveling in that particular direction, that Anantam.
Yes.
So this is like an extraordinary way of giving. So what I see, Vidyaranya all the time, he was just trying to emphasize one particular thought towards that Anantam, to know that absolute Brahman. Sat and Jnanam, that is fine. We have gone through so many Upanishads and all
Yes.
that. A lot of information is available. And when we say Anandam also, sometimes it gives like an adjective bliss.
Correct, correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in this chapter, he has emphasized how Anantam as timelessness and spacelessness, how Anantam can be a truth, how it can be a truth is beautifully described.
It's very, very extraordinary. See, when we say Jiva, we could say that confinement we see actually, and every experience is related to the time, every activity happening within the space. But when we say Anantam is an independent of that, he made a very absolute clarification. I mean, the distinguished between the two. And when we do, I mean, the Nirvana Sadhakam, I was just coincidentally today what we did, and it's also going towards that Anantam direction, which is, I mean, once we have a thought, every action, precedent for that action is only a thought only.
Correct.
And if you have, and how do you enter into that action? How do you get into that Brahman? Only through a precedent. A precedent, what is he trying to create is an Anantam. And how do we get that Anantam? Is a simple mananam. And in that mananam, we have to just dropping the body, mind, intellect, all these are very, very difficult. No? It's not a easy thing. The whole thing is a maya and all that. But the way he has analyzed with a simple thought, Anantam, which is an independent of time, space, and object, that's really driving like anything.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, Venkatesh. So, next week we are going to do this full summary, and again we'll be talking on this Anantam again and see how brilliantly he covers Anantam. You know,
I really felt so amazing actually. This particular chapter.
Yeah.
Is I mean, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Venkatesh. Anybody else has any other remark? Anything? Otherwise, we will close.
Complete. Complete.
Okay. if there are no other questions, we'll see next week. Don't miss the next week's session because it's a beautiful summary. We will be going in all the 43 verses, we'll cover it in a brief way so that you can recollect what you have studied. See, this is one way of recapturing and let your mind flow through this ideas again. Okay, thank you. Good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Shakiji.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakiji. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharat. It's very nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm doing my best to catch up with all the lectures, but it's amazing. I'm doing several hours a day, and it's I have to admit your work is astounding. I work in investment banking, and we have very hardworking people, but what you've put together is simply amazing. I'm beyond impressed now. But what I wanted to say is the question and answer sessions are extremely rewarding for me.
Oh yes, there are so many people. They say that they only look at my Q&A session and they can get the knowledge.
Yeah, the Q&A sessions. You have a wonderful group of people, and they are asking all the questions that I can think of or have thought of in the past, and I have to applaud you in the very compassionate, consistent way you are answering them. It's superb.
Okay, Bharat, let's continue. I'm sure you'll enjoy the next week also.
Yep. May I ask how do we obtain this summary PDF? Will you just send it to us? Or?
No, it is there in the email which I sent to you for all the class notes. This is there.
Oh, okay.
You just open up that email. You will find the notes of Panchadasi, chapter 4.
Okay.
If you don't get it, write to me again or send me a WhatsApp. I'll send you the notes of this again.
Okay. And also for the session that you're having on Saturday, is that
Saturday may be quite difficult for you because it's 11:30 Singapore time. It's almost like 5 or something, you know.
I wake up. It's quite interesting. I was listening to one of your Kavalia Upanishads this morning, and in a questioner asked, "Oh, I only get 3 or 4 hours sleep," and I identified with that guy because I also only sleep like 4 or 5 hours a night. That's what I'm used to. But then that's what works for me. So I wake up very, very early. Anyway.
Okay, no problem. It's at 11:30 Singapore time. Same link. It's 9 o'clock in India.
Sure.
And you had a question on that. It's basically a Q&A session on for the beginners, you know.
I see. Okay, I will. I think I will try to.
Yeah, even if you don't, I can send you the recording of it. That's no problem.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Chandra. Hari Om. Thank you.